Marvel is swinging again with their third movie this year. Ant-Man and the Wasp has just hit theaters, and it seems like Infinity War just came out like 2 weeks ago. With Marvel moving on to the next phase of their franchise, Ant-Man and the Wasp comes out at a perfect time to keep both old and new fans invested after the huge cliffhanger that was Infinity War. Ant-Man and the Wasp is practically the exact opposite of Infinity War when it comes to the overall mood of the movie. It's hilarious and barely has any room for emotional scenes that aren't happy. We're back to good old Marvel that can't take anything serious. While I'm not a huge fan of the way the MCU will sometimes sacrifice an emotional scene for a punchline, I think it works well with this movie. I mean, their powers are pretty ridiculous to begin with. It's perfect for a comedy. Michael Pena seemed like he was gonna be the most annoying, stereotypical guy ever, but he was surprisingly very funny. Still stereotypical, but I think that's what their whole gang is supposed to be. The comedic, stereotypical bunch in a film where almost everyone is also the comedic relief. I don't know. The premise is very simple. It's a rescue mission. The characters affected by the missing person have very clear motives, and that's what makes them easy to follow. I was worried with how Ant-Man and the Wasp would even team up. Scott Lang, because of his experiences with the suit and traveling to the quantum realm, is why he's needed. If it wasn't for that, he wouldn't even be in this movie. Well, story-wise at least. Of course he'd be in his own movie. It's much better than having some general or some other asshole say, I'm putting together a team, you know.
I'm putting together a crew.
I'm putting together a team. People with special abilities.
Putting together a special team. With special privileges.
The best actor in this movie is Abby Fortson, the little girl playing Scott's daughter. Child actors have an 80% chance of being obnoxious, but she was able to come off very genuine. Her chemistry with Paul Rudd is A1. All of their scenes together were very sweet. They seemed like an actual father and daughter. One scene in particular made the whole theater go. After creating two of the greatest comic book movie villains ever, you know Marvel had to throw a curveball at us and give us an okay villain. Ghost isn't a bad villain. Her powers and how she uses them are cool. She's constantly phasing, so we see ghost forms of herself as she does things before she does it, and sometimes what she intends to do but doesn't. It makes no sense explained, but visually it looks fucking badass. Sometimes she completely disappears, you know, like a ghost. Those scenes are awesome and introduce something visually new into the MCU, but I do feel like there was a lot of wasted potential with Ghost. She's a character who was robbed of basic human rights at a young age. These type of events really twist the psyche of any human being and molds their ideology forever. Killmonger was a great example of this. Because of what he witnessed growing up is why he feels so strongly about racial inequality. And because of his father's death is why he believes Wakanda should sacrifice its state of being to bring his idea of justice to fruition. Ghost has the motivation because of her troubled past, but she doesn't seem like a person that suffered her reality. She didn't develop any particular ideologies or anything else one would develop after years of suffering what she suffered. She wasn't written like a human being. It seemed like she was only in this movie to include a bad guy with superpowers. Ant-Man and the Wasp is very straightforward. So straightforward that the story can seem a little dull. There was no big surprises, and I was a little bit confused as to what powers does everyone actually have. It's an enjoyable film, but I don't think there's anything that makes it stand out. It's a fun family movie. It's fine. I'd give it 7.5 out of 10. But now with this movie comes the thousands and hundreds of new theories as to what will go down in Avengers 4. I can't wait.